afternoon, everyone. I'm very pleased to be here to talk to you about Digital Factory at scale, and more specifically, how Digital Factory brings you the best business value to the market. So, first question is how to approach design in large-scale project. So the first thing we do is we break up the team into self-sufficient and auto-regulated squads. So the squads are composed by multidisciplinary. So this is what we do at Digital Garden. So we have the cross-disciplinary with designers, developers, growth hackers, data scientists, product owners, and squad masters. Several squads compose a tribe, very simple. And in a tribe, we have a chapter, and chapter are composed by the same skills. So, for instance, we have a chapter of designers. The tribe key players are the chief product owners, which is ensure the consistency of the PO within their backlog. We have the tribe master, which is the relay of the squad masters, and we have the chapter lead. So, for instance, Matthias is a chapter lead of one of our digital factory with 6 squads. So, one of the challenges is really to align everyone. So, when I say everyone, is, as you have followed, designers, growth hackers, data scientists, UI designers, developers, product owners, and stakeholders. So that's very complicated. So, Matthias, how to consistently align all members and keep one project vision?
So on the design part, really, the one way to do that is to have in place a DesignOps. So what is a DesignOps? It comes from the concept of DevOps. So it's both a way of thinking, a way of working, but also it is a person. A DesignOps will be a member of your team. And the work of a DesignOps is really on 3 aspects that are people, process, and projects. Pretty simple. So the first one on the people, it's really setting up the structure of the teams. On the DesignOps, it will be focusing, of course, on the design part, but you would have the same kind of work done by other chapter leads. And also making sure that the onboarding is done properly, because if your project goes on for several years or even just a few months, if you have a lot of turnover within your team and knowledge is lost, you have to make sure that everything is kept. Second part is about process. So the role of the DesignOps is really to set up the methodology, create all the templates that the team will have to follow. The real main goal here is to make sure that the DesignOps has to take care of all the small details so that your team can be more efficient and don't have to think about all of these details. They can really set their mind on producing the content that they are supposed to do. And on the project side, of course, it's about leading the resources, deciding the tools, making the subscriptions, all the small details that are not the role of a designer during their producing time, or that are not part of the work of the squad master, for example. So all of these is very trivial in some manner, but very important as well, because they will create the standardized process and the design system that your UX designer and your UI team will rely on, as well as the insight repositories. And when we are talking about insight repositories, it's really important because a transversal knowledge of what is happening in your team is crucial when you have a tribe, because on a squad level, maybe everyone could know what's happening, but on the tribe level, someone has to make sure that everyone in the team gets the insight from other parts of the design team, for example. And this is where we started to look at atomic research. So atomic research comes from also, it's a derivative of the concept of atomic design, where you really strip down your content to the smallest atom. So a button will be really a combination of a label, and which is an atom, and another atom, which is the shape of the button, for example. And from that, you create the building blocks of your website. So atomic research is taking really the elements from your experiments, and these could be all kinds of data. So the latest reports from I don't know, a governmental issued report, or it could be just as simply as the last usability test or analytics given to you by data scientists or your growth hacker. You take those and you strip down in a very neutral form all the facts. So you do not make assumption yet, that comes later. That's the next step, which is the insight. From there, you create hypotheses based on the facts that you have stripped down. And from there, you create one or several conclusions, which will enable you to have new experiments. So you have some kind of loop that starts to be created there. And this traceability really helps you to know, even 1 year after, 2 years after, why design decisions or business decisions have been taken. And that really helps you to start having all the building blocks to know exactly what is the value of your decisions.
That's very important to understand as well, that the insights are coming from different disciplines. Not only designers that are going on the field and get some, let's say, quality insights, but as well data coming from growth hackers, which means analytics, campaigns, stakeholder interviews. So all those insights are creating what we call a data-informed backlog, which is at the disposal of the product owners. And the product owners will have the ability to better prioritize their decision and in order to optimize the business value, which leads to the product market fit.
So usually how it works is that you will have some number of facts giving you a smaller number of insights and maybe ultimately one conclusion, or it could be completely the other way around. A few number of facts, but they are so rich that you can really create several insights, and from there, if you're not sure what to do, you create several conclusions. These conclusions are basically the basis of your A/B testing. But in truth, most of the time, this is how the model looks like. You have lots of several experiments, as Fabien just said, that comes from multiple data points, and you will cross-reference them to have really stronger facts, to have stronger insights, and from there, one or multiple conclusions. And the more facts you have to back up your decision, the more weight you can give to your business decision or your design decision. So if you were okay with just cutting the rainforest even more and you had enough space on your walls, you could do that with just paper, with a paper template right here. But if you want to tag them, sort them out, gather them, you will need at some point to digitalize it. And for that, usually we rely on insight factories. Insight factories are really usually more towards quantitative data. So you will have lots of AI deep learning to really make a lot of insight more valuable, pop out, so you can see the trends or predict some elements. But we have to think of that for our qualitative data as well. And these really insight repositories are what's coming next. So I'm just going to share you a very quick example, because the concept of atomic research on these insight repositories is very vast, and there's a lot of way that you can approach it. So the first one here, top left, is a website called Gleanly, which has been created by Daniel Pitcock, who is one of the minds behind the concept of atomic research. His angle is really on the visualization of all the links between your experiments, the facts, the insight, the conclusion, so you could really navigate some kind of visual aspect. The second one, Polaris, is the insight repository created by WeWork, and they really have an angle more towards very busy stakeholders. So everything is linked to snippets of rich content. So maybe 10 seconds of a user interview or in an audio file, something that could be shared across the organization very quickly to go somehow viral. The third one is Kaleidoscope by Uber. And they took an approach more targeted as a blogging. So all insights and conclusion are in the format of like micro-blogging, micro-article. And the last one, even large companies are getting really interested in this concept. Mosaic has been created by NASDAQ, and they are trying to open it to larger corporations for beta testing. So there is bubbling right now on the market for this atomic research and insight repositories. So very quickly, you might have these coming to your company in one form or another. There are no right or wrong approach to it. Everyone has their strength and maybe weaknesses, and we're not separate from them. We are also working in our company in our own insight repositories to compete with all of these.
So atomic research, to summarize, is an insight factories allows to make better decisions. Those decisions are led by user-centric approach and are data-driven as well. So it brings the projects more business value into the market.
And it's a very interesting approach to take in some very specific moments. For example, if you are in a company or on a project that has several markets, lots of data points, touch points, or a very large variety of people who are bringing data, so lots of data scientists or a growth hacker, it's an interesting way to share that knowledge. If your stakeholders are lacking empathy, or if you are in a kind of research or knowledge dictatorship where one person or one group of person think that they alone know what the user wants or what the market wants, this is a way to really help them see the largeness of what is actually going in the market. And another case is obviously if you are in silos, working strongly in silos, or if you have large turnover. After 1 year, 2 years, knowledge is lost. People come and go, and you don't exactly remember why did we take this action. And this is one of the best way to do it, because you can just sort your insight repository, filter everything you want, and you remember, oh, this is why, because at that time, that was the state of the market. Those were the insights. So on the delivery aspect, really, when we're thinking DesignOps and design at scale, how can we do that consistently with the same level of quality? So I'm just going to speak of one small example here because it's a very large topic. So when we started the project on which we have multiple squads across several countries, we were working with a lot of different tools that were really not helping us get things across very fast. So we tried to swap things up a bit, and we added Abstract, which is a tool for versioning your sketch file. So it's really a design tool. But even with that, synchronization is long. You're not always sure what's happening. So what we did is the DesignOps team really took a step back and thought, okay, what can we do to help the design team go faster? And we swapped completely our pool of tools, and we are using now only one tool that does the work of everything that was before, going from the design, the prototyping, the developer handover, everything is carried on by Figma. And every designer can work on the same file at the same moment in real time. And then we added another tool, so a kind of 3bis version of our ecosystem, just to make sure that these information, our design system, the values we are working with, could be shared with all stakeholders, whatever their countries, in a very simple way. So this is kind of our documentation of the design system and the versioning of how it evolved to where we are. So it's a lot of the theme here around DesignOps is linked to not only the tools, the organization, but knowledge management. So the key here is to make sure that you listen to your team, see what is happening, and you don't get stuck into, okay, but we've made the move to go with this tool, and we've been working with that for 6 months now, and we can't rotate and do another tool. You should take the time, listen to your team, and search maybe in parallel for other tools that could fit your needs better, because that is one of the key ways you can really go farther and beyond in your approach. Second is really linked to the design systems. If you are working on a large project and you have a lot of components, you kind of have to make sure that you don't reinvent the wheels every time. So we put out a gatekeeper as well to make sure that this work is done properly. This is also part of the world of the DesignOps, but in junction with another key player here, who will be the lead UI designer. And finally, to make sure that you can break up silos, you can add rituals along the way. You don't have to follow exactly the same pattern that the Agile Manifesto has given you. You really need to think, what is best for our team? Do they need to meet a bit more? But don't overdo it, of course, but still be flexible and work in pair with your squad master or tribe master to make sure that everything goes smoothly for everyone. So in conclusion, really we can say that in these aspects, size does really matter. It has an impact on the way we work together. It has an impact on the roles that you have to introduce in your teams in order for them to be self-sufficient. So first, find the right way to work together. It's trial and error, but you can really find the right way to collaborate for everything. Each team is different, and even within a tribe, you have to be aligned with the others, but it doesn't mean that your squad needs to be exactly the carbon copy of another one.
One of the things we have implemented in the squad is the cross-disciplinary backlog. So it means everyone is working with the same backlog, with subtasks in the backlog related to data, design, growth hacking, and development. It's one of the ways to make them work together.
Then sharing knowledge, what we recommend and what we're really trying to implement right now is this atomic research approach, which we highly recommend that you get more into details into, because it's a very powerful tool to make sure that everyone in the company has views on every snippet of insight that are really relevant for the business as well as the design. And lastly, find the right tools. You can even build your way into your own set of tools. Don't have to be shy about that. We didn't like the repositories we were using to share that knowledge, so we have decided to create our own insight factory. So build your way, test your way. Everyone has very different opinions and have different experiences in that way of working, but we are very glad that we are taking this step forward in that and creating our own set of tools.
So in some companies we are working for, our design system and UI toolkit are used by other projects which has nothing to do with the project we are working for. because it's very powerful for them as well. So we can leverage the work we have done within the tribe for other projects which has really nothing to do.
And thank you.
Thank you.